Good night, Barbados, and welcome to another edition of DLP TV, Honest Voices for the People. Tonight, we confront some of the hardest realities facing our nation: the rise in crime, the growing sense of hopelessness among our youth. Too many are saying that their future is lost, overshadowed by fear, violence, and frustration. But this is not the Barbados that we want, and it does not have to be the Barbados that we accept. This evening's program, Breaking the Cycle, Youth, Crime, and the Path to a Safer Barbados, brings together a panel of young leaders who will share their insights on why hope feels so distant, how crime is reshaping communities, and most importantly, what we can do to restore hope and build a safer future. Let's meet our panel. Tonight, I have with me, no stranger to the show, Mr. Ramon Goodman, financial advisor committed to guiding young people towards financial independence and stability as a pathway out of crime. And new to our show is our newly ratified candidate for St. James South, Mr. Pedro Greaves, a regional manager, bringing leadership and community experience. To his right, we have Jamal Sandiford, content creator and DLP candidate for St. Michael Northeast.
Good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And to his right, we have Mr. Andrew Cave, financial advisor and DLP candidate for Christchurch West. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, our first segment is the reality of hopelessness. So my first question is to Jamal. You're in close contact with young people. What are they telling you about the crime and their future?
Well, I'll be honest with you, right? Most people that I come across, young people, they want to be Barbados. And it's sad but true. Give a quick story. Just the other day, I was in Rubis gas station in Old Town, and a young gentleman I haven't seen since school days, and for me that was not too long ago, about 10 years ago, right? Secondary school. He was told I was going to get into politics. He want to know what you gonna do about this crime, was it, And he was sharing all the different things that he would do. He was saying, "Man, if it was you, I would tell people go down with their big guns and they soldiers deal with it." I think that's only going to fuel it more, right? But they're actually not satisfied with what's being done by the government to solve crime. And I think that crime is something that's slowly but surely getting out of hand, if not already there. Today, before I came here, I met with a person I know from skills training now, who told me that, well, it's going to kind of hurt for the citizen, but he got robbed leaving work in the evening. An area in town will not disclose the location, but it's still under investigation. But he got robbed, and it's a very, very serious thing. He said 4 men surrounded him. It was we don't call it the vehicle, but 4 men surrounded him, and they had what he called spin barrel, who knows, and they took everything he had, clothes, wallet, cards, phones, everything, and left him have to walk to the police station now to get assistance at around, I think, 10, 11 o'clock in the evening. So this is the state at which Barbados has gotten to under this Barbados party government. I'm so serious. Like when he told me that, I was hurt, extremely hurt. That he at less than probably 25. Doing his work, putting in his time to get his money, everything he had, all he's saving up, and just in that one go, just taking him in. So really do something about the crime. People are not satisfied, and his reaction was, when he gets some more money, he's gonna leave. He doesn't feel safe, and that's what's on there right now. That's there's 2 stories I could share. There's so much more I could share about the effect that crime is having on Barbados at this point.
So do you think that the youth feel that the leaders of the community leaders of the nation are listening to them?
I can't say no for all, to be completely honest with you. However, the ones that do feel they're listening, you gotta ask yourself, do they feel like what is being done is enough? Is it the right way to go? I think these are more important, pressing matters to really focus on, because it seems like the powers that be, they are not ignorant. If they were, they wouldn't be in the position they are, right? I would say they're not ignorant, even if it's rhetorical. But the point is that I want people to realize that this is not enough. There's so much more that can be done. I mean, people at the end of this program have some more solutions that we all cultivate and discover on how to best tackle crime in Barbados.
So there's a sense of hopelessness.
Mhm.
Would you say that social media is amplifying this hopelessness?
Before the doubt, because as the older folks tell me all the time, back in the day, this and that used to happen, but look, you might have social media then. No, you can find naked women that dead being posted in chats, being posted up on social media. You can find that because everybody's so up to date on everything on social media, that any single thing that happened is going to be reported. So let's be honest, the rate is higher, but it's more publicized now. You know, like everything over there is gonna, you know, propaganda is spreading and negativity shares, right? But it is publicizing it a lot more. And it's not something that I'm proud to say, but it is true. You know, you can check verses to 4/6s and the white collar crimes and all these different pages that we're going to show all the different crime areas that being put at large. So yeah, social media is amplifying all of the crimes. So it's going to show exactly how it really is instead of what we would have thought before.
All right, so to Pedro, from your managerial experience and your community work, what systemic issues would you say are driving this despair in the country?
It can be linked to a number of different things. Lack of opportunities for the youth. We can go to the Barbados Defense Force Sports Program, for an example, where you had persons that can use their talents, but go in a structured environment where you can get discipline and learn life skills, etc. Now that is no more. You've had persons, and we have heard our leader refer to it like Tino Beth. You had Miguel Cummins, Rashad, a footballer, coming through that sports program. And I think that is one of the things that is needed, structured opportunities for our young people. So when you have these one-off, I mean, we had and again, I'm not shooting it down because anything to engage our young people, I'm going to support. But at the same time, are we really getting to the persons we really intend to get to? So, for instance, we had a block T20 competition, and there were no block persons. If we could count on one hand how many saw, you know, so it didn't really get to who you wanted to. So, systematically, what I'm seeing happening is that we're disconnected. The structures that work for us as a society when we were growing up. Our parents, even if they didn't go to church, they sent us to church. And that is, we find that as one of the factors outlining the blueprint of Rescue the Nation commissioned by the DLP and for the peace of being sharing that. When you go through that, it talks about family, it talks about school, it talks about education, it talks about the church again. So if they're not going into the church to get that structured environment again, discipline, you're going to see then the despair you're talking about. And in fact, the Bible speaks to the fact that if people without hope will perish. So therefore, they need to have that sort of structure. Families, again, mentioned inside the report, you will find that families are not like they used to be before. A village used to raise a child. You had grandparents who would look after the child. So young now, they're still working. And one of the big things in Barbados, which I recognize is happening, is also the babysitting thing. I never it's so big, but it's big in Barbados because now these young parents are working, grandparents are working, so therefore it's not most people spending time with their children. So it's a number of factors that you can look and see that systematically we're falling down.
You mentioned family, you mentioned the BDS sports program. But do you think that businesses in Barbados are doing enough to engage the youth?
Well, certainly in some constituencies, and my constituency was one that falls part of this. When you see a certain address, sometimes the business don't want to hire that individual, and it's a fact. It's a fact. But what I would suggest to happen is that we don't want to necessarily focus on, well, business have a role to play. I would probably speak more about how business can intervene. But I believe the issue, the root cause of the problem can't be at the end when you're at the working age. No, it has to be at the very beginning. So I won't focus on business at this point. I'll focus on the schools. And what I'm finding is that, like, for instance, we have guidance counselors in secondary schools. I personally believe that we need guidance counselors at a more younger age, at the 4, 5, 6, 7 age. At 14, 15, you're set in your ways, and basically the teachers are looking to send out of school if they don't perform.
Yeah.
So you need to get and understand what is happening in that child's life at a very young age, so you can curb those behaviors at an early age.
Right. So would you say, is it employment, lack of opportunity, or a breakdown in institutions?
Bit of both, all three actually. Yeah. So unemployment is a direct link to unemployment and crime. Again, if we read the blueprint that was carried out, I think on average since 2018 we've had about 45 or so homicides. On average, 100 actual crimes committed, other crimes which would include robbery, manslaughter. So all these things, 1,000 per year, 45 homicides average per year. I think last year was 50, according to the report. This year, I think we're up already 32, right? So what I'm saying is that, and a number of those are unemployment. When you go through the communities, what they're telling me is that sometimes we have this on and off the bushing program. So they on for 1 week, off for 3 weeks. Even if they're going to skills trading, sometimes they're not being paid the stipend. So they have to borrow money from persons who have to pay back whenever they get it. So I think that we need to focus as a people with these programs to ensure that it's something sustainable. And maybe later on I can discuss how this can be more sustainable, but I'll let you go on at this point.
So Andrew, we're coming to you. When young people feel hopeless, how do money struggles and job insecurities play into that?
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. Well, first of all, I think we were remiss of not to take my hat off the commission who skillfully put together the report for Barbados. I mean, they really cared about Barbados, decided to get off the assets, decided to put together a report which I believe that every leader, every community around Barbados should have a copy of. That would be my recommendation to the church, business persons. It doesn't matter what facet or sphere or institution that persons belong to. I believe that every leader of every community or institution around Barbados should have a copy of the report that was skillfully formulated by our leader, Honorable Thorne, and not other than for a little piece of, I think it was fantastic. As you said, when young persons feel hopeless, when a person feels hopeless, when a person is wrong, a person is going to ground. You could just think about it. So when you talk about a young person that does not have the essentials of life, you want money just for food, you need money to pay bills. Some persons have the right to pay children to feed and children to take to school. And I met her just like you. I'm always in my community. I met a young man the other day. I know he works. He works. I know he works at the government, but number of years. But he said to me, if you boy again here, so I run broke again, really broke. I said, so maybe you know how to work. Somebody not to feed. I said, what talk to me? He said, listen, I just thought that I was going to get so I got to do it. Straight. And I felt really bad. And I would say this, right? Addressing crime in any country is not a low-hanging fruit. It's not an easy fix. I believe that we need to have infrastructures, programs in place. Just like when we look at countries like Luxembourg and Finland and even Singapore, I have to be biased when it comes to Singapore. Because I think I would like to believe that my birth string is still there. But in Singapore, there are structured programs there for young persons, maybe from the age of 3 to 5 years old, where they're taught skills. And there are assessment programs which identifies those young persons' skills from a very young age. We don't have that in Barbados. We don't have that in Barbados. And so we have to understand that we live in an academic society, academia. Whereas it's like judging a fish on his ability to climb a tree. But that doesn't mean that that fish can add value. And there are many persons who are sidelined in our society because they're not academically inclined. I think that we are doing our young persons an injustice because we have not created the opportunities for our young men and women to flourish. You know what I mean?
So you said one was working
Mhm.
and he came home on evenings and he
Yes.
and do his thing, to make ends meet. So what other options would you recommend to him? Would you recommend financial literacy as an option?
Financial literacy, Melissa, that's a fantastic question. Financial literacy is practically a culture. A culture. My son spent 5 years in China, and he sent me some videos of 5-year-old children in the class, 5 years old, and the teacher would give them a scenario where the teacher would give them $1 million and to put them in groups and to see how these children would form businesses, create businesses, and to invest $1 million. And the winner out of these groups were given the opportunity to actually start a business from 5 years old.
5 years.
From 5 years old. Do we have that? No. And I will say to you, right, sir, that in Barbados we do not really have an. I know that we borrowed a lot of money from the IMF, but if we had structures in place for our young people, right? If we were socially structured, right, we would not have an economic problem. Because when you empower your people, you empower a nation.
Socially structured.
Yes.
What structures are you referring to?
So the structure that I'm speaking to specifically, just like one that I could refer to that's from in Singapore. So you have programs where children from 3 to 5 years old are screened to find out what is their gifting, because everybody in this world was born with a gift.
Yes.
Your gift is what you do best with the least amount of effort. I say that again. Sounds good?
Yeah, repeat it.
I say that again. Your gift is what you do best with the least amount of effort. So, sorry, I love football, right, Pedro? I know you're a cricketer. My God, be a little bit say I love football. I'm a Chelsea man, but I love Messi too. But from a very young age, right? Messi was introduced to the La Masia, and obviously he would have tutors there to teach him English, math, the basics. But his talent is football. If we have structures in place where every child, you can imagine every child is functioning in his or her talent. You know what good service what we will have in Barbados? There will be no more square pegs in round holes.
Correct.
Because when you look at Singapore is a service oriented country. You have optimal service. So it was spiral off into economic value and benefits. Once we have our structure, our social structure right.
Right, so I'm going to go to the viewers right now, and I'm going to ask the viewers, what do you think is the number one factor driving young people towards crime? You can share your thoughts in the comments, and we will try to answer them throughout the show. So, Ramon, next question is to you. Do you think youth hopelessness is more about finances or about trust in leadership in society?
I think it's all of above really.
Mhm.
But before I start, I just want to say welcome. First time on the show. Welcome to Western Gentlemen.
Welcome, welcome, man.
So in terms of finance, no, as I mentioned,
Mm.
I don't
As Andrew Cave
of
mentioned.
course. I didn't mention, thank you. I don't mind grabbing desperation. Desperation. It's something that I mean, I know we would have faced at some point in time, but I'm seeing it more now in society more so than any other time of my life. Any other time. I think I would have mentioned the show before. We had youngsters, again, that's their hustle,
Mhm.
that's their way of getting their money and getting by. But I'm seeing more youngsters now on the road. They're selling waters and so forth. You have council market. A Sunday when the youngsters they should be having a nice hot Sunday food. You know the Sunday food we talking about.
Yeah.
You know the macaroni pie, the rice and so forth.
Chicken. Mhm.
Yeah, they come into the vehicles and they're asking for money. So that is desperation.
Oh
If that isn't desperation, I don't know what desperation is, right? On a Sunday, right? So that is money.
It's more than desperation, Ramon. It's high cost of living.
Of course,
Or astronomically higher cost of
and
living.
that's the thing. I have seen it more so that I've ever seen it.
Oh yes. Oh
Ever seen it
yes.
before. And I want to go into a little psychology here, right? Now, if sometimes you one-on-one, you have one-on-ones with the youth, right? I know that some of them play big and bad and so forth in crowds and stuff, right? But a lot of times when you pull that person one side aside, you're gonna and you share your story because a lot of the youth think that we have not gone through their situation
It is
and
true.
they feel alone. You understand? They feel that it is only happening to me.
And there's a disconnect
And
as
there's a
well.
disconnect.
Yeah.
You don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Why should I be this particular way? Why should it be that particular way? But when you start now and you share your stories, that I have gone through this, there is hope. And I have come out at the lightning well at any time. I have come out. I have come out in the situation. You get a different response. They see things a little differently. I pulled a couple young people, I said younger people as and,
Is it always funny?
and they were obviously very rowdy. But again, what I want to say, one-on-one. Those one-on-ones, very important. Very, very important. So as I would say, I think it's a bit of all of these factors.
So would you say that the youth trust the leadership in society?
Not this leadership. Not this leadership.
But there's other forms of leadership.
Of
Doesn't,
course, but
yeah.
I'm talking about this leadership right now.
Talking about the government.
Yes, talking about the government. I'm talking about the government, right? And again, not just here to criticize the government, but it got to call a spade, right? They see the government as being arrogant. They see the government as being up here, and we are down here, right? There's a disconnect. They see a disparity. Big up cars, big up money. One representative coming to their neighborhood. There are praise and so forth. There's a disparity. So you know what? I am not on that level. We can have conversations, right?
So-
That is the problem.
Leadership at the community level.
Okay, leadership at the community level. Well, where the community is concerned, you would need, I believe, you would need a central place where a leader can be. And as you see here now, a lot of the community centers and so forth are closed. They're not open. And I said, it was the 1st of January. I was down Orange Hill, down Orange Hill, whatever. And a bank holiday, when they should have some level of activity, you should have some dominoes playing, some cards and so forth. Closed, painted pretty, but closed. So I believe to have leadership in a community, you need a central place a lot of times. And we don't have that. A lot of them closing down, and so forth. A lot of them are closed, and that's the challenge. And I believe too, once before you will see a lot of activity in the communities and so forth. I don't see them in the communities in which football, cricket, and again we back to playing little dominoes and so that has left us. That has left us. right? And we need to get back. I think the community plays a very important
Oh, yeah.
role in society. And if you get rid of that community spirit and so forth, you're in problems. And as you can see, we're clearly in problems. I mean, we're in problems for the last 7 years.
All right, let's discuss mentorship. What role can mentorship play in the lives of these individuals?
Oh man, but I went a little bit forward then.
Yeah.
But no, I would obviously repeat, taking a younger person on site, giving them those one-on-one, letting them know, you know what, I would have gone through this. I would have had these type of situations, and look, I am old. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I have now moved forward from that. I think it's ultra important. And I think I would mention as well too, there's a huge culture gap between, I would say, primary school, secondary school. Then from secondary school to work. I believe in between those, you should have some program, someone mentoring, someone giving one-on-ones before you move on to these different phases in your life.
Okay. So Pedro, I come to you. You have been actively engaged in community work. Could you tell us a bit about how you go about mentoring younger individuals?
Yeah. So what I find is that people like to take the hands-off approach when the youngster is more troublesome. So I will term it the at-risk youth. Those are the ones that need more attention. And I'll give an example. I was aware of a situation where a young man, where the teachers were just ready to get him out of school, and very talented in sports and everything, etc. And again, my concern was no one was like, no, they dive in and find out what was wrong in his family background, at home, in the community where he come from, what was happening to him. So when I took that guy upon under my wing and I recognized what was happening, I was able then to gain his trust first and foremost. He confided in me, and I was able to help him along the way and carry him through. So you need dedicated people, right? And Ramon touched on it just now, community based, right? Whereby then, let's say for instance, I would suggest that we put money, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, There are community clubs out there where these young people frequent. We need to give those community clubs more access to funds. If there's incentives that we need to give them from corporate Barbados to sponsor these clubs, well, then sponsorship is dying. Because you have people within the community that knows the at-risk youth, that can actually get them to get to school early. As simple as it may sound, get to school early, right? Make sure they're there.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to school hungry. So if you're aware of what's happening, you can't help if you don't know what's happening. So you need people who are on the ground, day in, day out, assisting those young persons. So that's why we suggest. Again, there are a number of other youth groups, not just clubs, not just christian football clubs in Barbados, but there are other youth groups that should not be struggling after sponsorship, because again, that's where the people go. And they're the ones who are invested in their communities.
That's it.
I come to you, Andrew.
Sure.
What experiences do you have when it comes to mentorship?
Mentorship.
Yeah. Were you ever mentored?
I would say I was mentored, yeah. I was mentored. I remember coming out of school, and my mother took me to this guy called Dr. Gay, and he was a dental technician. And from the time he walked in, I said, "Mommy, this is what you want to do." And the guy said, "No problem." I was working, at that time I was working at Much Boy for $207 a week. But this guy was only willing to give me at a stipend $25. I said, "Mommy, I can take the $25. And my mother said, "Oh?" So that means that you ain't gave me there with the weekend.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Where you gain
I said,
knowledge.
mommy, listen to me. I'm acquiring a skill here.
Mhm.
My mother said, that's very thoughtful of you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, you know, she just wanted to see my thinking
psychology.
process,
Mhm.
where my decision was concerned.
Mhm.
And I went there and I watched this guy every single day. If this guy got up and went to, I remember this guy told me afternoon. He said, Andrew, you're gonna follow me again to the bathroom. So everywhere, Mr. Gear, Frederick Gear went. I followed him so that I could see specifically what he was doing. And he mentored me. And he did not only give me skills, but he gave me skills for life.
Mhm.
Right? And I remember one day I came and put a gold cap on his desk. And he said, well, where this come from? I said, sir, I made that. And you know what he said to me? He said, from today, you're going to be making all the gold caps, right? Which means that my income then raised
Oh, yeah.
because of the skill that I acquired.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm saying to you today, right, Melissa, that because many of our youth, at-risk youth, right, Betty, at-risk youth, the system did not give them the opportunity to explore the gift and talent, So if they don't have that opportunity to explore such, when they are put into a corner, when they are put in a position where they feel hopeless and helpless, where they can't feed the children, when a mother can't buy milk, when a father can't pay the bills, have no skill, what they're going to do? When the fathers, the godfathers or the block open their arms, I say, welcome, my son.
And they're gonna go.
They're going to go
Mhm.
because that's where they feel welcome. That's where they feel comfortable.
Where they can fit in.
Where they can fit in.
Mhm.
Mhm. All right, so we're gonna go to the comments online. Just reminding the viewers that the question that was posted was, what do you think is the number one factor driving young people towards crime? So we have a comment from Toroni Hall. The youth could keep out of crime. The youth just want someone to guide them. And let's discuss. Do you agree with Toroni?
Oh yes, definitely so. Fun fact. When I was younger, right, they had so much things that going on in my life that I would not be willing to share right now, right? But what I can say is that having the right person around you to share, not even just share, but this give a little advice can help you change your life, right? For me, it's not so much on the crime situation, it's more in terms of maneuvering through life. Because you guys made some interesting points about mentorship. And I believe that if I had to sum up mentorship in one life, to be someone who teaches you or guides you or molds you from where you want to go. So from where you are to where you want to go, right? And I think that mentorship is critical. We've touched earlier on the school set of things. I thought you mentioned, Pedro, you mentioned like guidance counselors being in school at secondary school, right? And you like to see it implemented from a primary level. You know what? To see the strength of your point, I went to Courage Parry and they had a guidance counselor when I was in secondary school. And the guidance counselor was teaching classes. So think about it. This guidance counselor can't aid you when you need to. So it means now you probably have to implement more guidance counselors than just one. And then two, we gotta look at the infrastructure in which the guidance counselor is there, because even if you got a guidance counselor and she's teaching classes, when you going through something, you can't go to her, she has to class. I think what needs to be done, however, to deal with the support of a youth is to implement social workers. Those are the people that are trained and have the knowledge around what they're dealing with to be able to cultivate, shape, and guide the minds of the youth. And as the gentleman just said, you know, they need someone to guide them. So I think the implementation of social workers would be a very great, advantageous system to implement
when dealing with the youth. And that's just one thing I would say. As you said, they just need someone to guide them. And I think social workers are really the most efficient and effective people to do so.
All right, we have another comment here from MIMAT 2017. It is a lack of opportunity. This government brings back the retired loyalists to work, stealing the opportunity for the youth. Andrew, you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. Again, as it relates to persons who don't have the opportunities, again, I can't reiterate enough the point that we need to give our youth in this country the opportunities to explore their gifts and talents. Because when a man is pushed in a corner and he can't meet basic necessities for his family, it lowers the bar, between right and wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The bar of right and wrong, that does not become a concern of his. He would prefer to suffer the consequences,
Correct.
right? Because it's about survival.
Yeah.
It's about survival. And so I will lobby for it. We need to lobby for it, to implement structured programs in place that we can help our youth to discover their talent at a very young age.
Pedro, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, we were talking about the mentorship, and Jamal hit the nail on the head again. When we look at these schools, right? These young people do not have persons really pushing them and focusing on the at-risk ones again, because we always see the brightest person in class, we make them what to do.
Yeah.
They then prefect, they then head boy.
Yeah.
We see a troublesome person in sports, what we do, we try to put them out.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying let's do it, but let's try something different. Let's make the troublesome person the front captain. Let's make them the prefect.
Interesting.
Because what it does psychologically is that it makes the person know how to do differently.
Give them
It gives
responsibility.
responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's what I think we need to be focusing on as well, and focus on those young at-risk youth and give them opportunities, opportunity to lead, opportunity to become a leader within their community, within their age groups, as opposed to just siphoning them off and saying to them, we are prophetically saying you will not do nothing. And then we become nothing. We say, oh yes, so. Because the condition is not that way.
Sometimes he was go as far as to say, but I know he wouldn't, you know, people is,
So Pedro, you were saying that it would give our youth the opportunity to have a sense of identity.
Identity, belongingness, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Because I think identity is a part of the problem as well. Because if our children were taught about their history even beyond slavery, that we were kings and queens and not dogs
Correct.
and niggas, right? We will have a sense of pride.
Yeah. There's a
Right.
famous phrase that says, "Man, know thyself."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Melissa, I truly believe that we should put in the history books our history, not some, all. And we need, even if we need to go back to, and tell our children about stories about Massa Musa, who was in today's money, it translates into trillions.
Yeah.
After Solomon.
Whoa.
After Solomon.
Oh yeah, you know.
Right.
All right, we have another comment here from Daniel D'Souza. The challenges the youth are facing is lack of jobs and opportunities, broken family households, drugs, influencing negative music, or content. Ramon, you want to comment on this?
Well, before we go there, I want to mention, I think we need to zero in, especially in schools, the young men. Now, I find that on a lot of occasions, the young men, they take a little longer to develop. I don't know if it's just me. But,
No, you're young, man.
because the reality that I remember being at school, only about 5 years ago, being at school, and
You dog ears.
being at school, and to me, I think focus. I would listen to the teacher and so forth. I think focus. I tell myself, well, I am going to ace this exam. And then you will have young ladies, the plaiting here, the putting on clothes and all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
And me being thinking I'm focused. I get a fee, and they're getting A's, you know? So I think we take the meals take a little longer to develop. So we must zero in on the meals. We're second. But I think we go back to the comment now regarding, I think it was
Broken
Drugs.
families,
Drugs.
drugs,
Right.
negative music and content.
I think drugs, sometimes that's a gateway, sometimes that is a distraction.
Mm.
And you're going through a problem, you're going through some issues, and you take drugs sometimes to get away from that.
We call it court.
Of course, the court,
Mhm.
right? It's not the best way to cope,
Oh,
obviously,
definitely.
because it's then that sobering moment.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go back, then
Yeah,
obviously
relive.
take drugs again, and the
Relive.
cycle continues. And the problem is still there, you know. But that is their way for that particular time to feel better. To
Correct.
feel better. By any day, it leads to self-destruction. It leads to
So Ramon, so which means that we have to show them another way,
Of
give them an
course.
option. Because
course.
if you don't know,
of course.
you just don't know what you don't know.
Mhm. Correct.
I actually want to be honest for a second. Everything about it. For me, when it comes to problem solving, as I always tell people, I need to go to the root of the problem so we can have a thorough analysis and then give a proper diagnosis, right?
Mhm.
It starts somewhere. The crime, the violence, everything starts somewhere. And where that somewhere will be home.
Mhm.
If the employment is not there, right? If the people that supposed to do the mentoring ain't in the right state of mind because them got bills to worry about, they ain't got job, them ain't got job. Let me say in some cases, them ain't got job. It's gonna be very hard. So this person distracted, the youth coming up being the youth, you know, anything that interests them, they're gonna work with. So if it's crime, if it's lawlessness, as we call it, you know, the person there that supposed to be mentoring them, they're out hunting, looking for work. You know, so we gotta get back to the root of the problem. And I think a lot of these things can be solved by employment. Yes, sometimes you'll find somebody that job hard and taking to smoke a cigarette might be their way of coping and so on. But at the end of the day, they got people know that are gonna do worse things because they ain't got jobs. So as Andrew Cave said earlier, it starts to blur the line between right and wrong for them. So you know all these different things this person mentioned in the comment. I think something to look into, you know, it starts at the home. Some people get drugs, start from the home. We feel just go up on the block and learn how to move it, as it's called it.
Some.
Start somewhere, stop, yeah, some maybe some, but majority it will start from the home because that person know that becomes their employment. You understand? Moving wherever will become their employment. So I guess little old, this is a name Jeremy, coming up, saying daddy, uncle, whoever, moving with it, he can become when he gets to your uncle, he might be a master. You know, just off of observation alone. So I think it's something that starts from in the home. We need to really tap into these homes and do something called community development. But all the things safe in the moment.
But before you go on, the viewers might not know what moving weight. They think you're talking about working out in the gym. So just explain.
Moving weight, as the youth call it, okay, Pedro. Moving weight, as the youth call it, might be considered what we call drugs, like selling drugs, cutting drugs, selling drugs, whatever phrase, whatever person call it, is essentially the action of distributing drugs, and it's measured by the weight, when they call it kilogram, gram, half a gram, whatever. So that's the reason why they call it moving weight, because it's getting it from one place to the next for monetary gain.
And it's not
Oh no, but I mean, somebody might express it. Maybe an analogy, but you understand.
Let us not empower the criminal minds.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
right, we have come to the end of segment 1, and we're now going to move on to segment 2, which is the impact of crime on families and communities. So Andrew, I come to you first.
The impact
Yes,
of crime.
the impact of crime on families and communities. So how do financial struggles translate into rising crime rates among youth?
Melissa, again, right? When a person did not have or receive the opportunity to explore who they really are as a person, what they really have to give to their communities, or whatever the case may be. That person, that individual, that father, that mother, right, will commit a crime.
Mhm.
because it's just all about survival. It's just all about survival, right? And and I would also say that it's imperative that we need to look at systems and programs. I remember you said about talk about the guy in the family moving weight, but I still believe despite whatever comes, and we have a system.
Oh, yeah.
We have a system where it can help young persons explore their gifting and talents,
Mhm.
right? At least you will give them a fighting chance to be somebody and to give valuable contributions in society and so.
Mhm. No problem. Would you say that the amount of crime that's going on, does it stem from generational poverty?
That I believe that is a influence as well.
Mhm.
That is an influence as well because you know if you come up and see daddy or uncle or cousin doing something that is wrong, again,
Yeah.
we are on the topic, so let's say moving weight,
Mhm.
and then you have a mother in the home or a father in the home, and it's not addressing the situation, which means that they're enabling the situation and saying, well,
Yeah.
listen, at least he paying the bills.
Mhm.
Little Tommy here, so seeing all of that, what do you think Tommy gonna want to do?
The same thing.
He gonna want to do the same
Oh,
thing
yeah.
because mommy and daddy saying yes, he paying the bills and we live in a certain standard of
yeah.
life. But you know, what little Tommy gonna do?
Mhm.
He does not have the opportunity to see anything else. So you know they say children do what they see, you know.
Yes.
You gotta understand that.
Mhm.
It isn't that they're gonna do what we say, but they can follow, they always follow what we do. So if that particular person is have a drug culture with bringing the drug culture in that home,
Mhm.
and it's not being addressed and it's being embraced by the leaders of the matriarchs and the patriarchs of that particular home, the other youngsters that are growing up coming up, then follow to do so because that's all that they know. So that is a part of generational curse.
Yeah. So crime is something that is usually associated with men. And I have a panel here full of men.
Mhm.
So I want each one of you to just tell me or tell the viewers what is one thing that a male needs in his life
A
to be
father,
a father, a strong father, not just a father.
a father. The truth is, right, as it relates to men,
Mhm.
right, or to boys, really, a woman was never a man, so she can't teach a boy how to become a man.
No, she cannot.
So there's certain rites of passage that a man would take his son through and show him principles that a woman would never be able to do so. I mean, God bless my mother, may she rest in peace. I mean, like, you know, my mother did her best. You know what I mean? But I believe if my father was around, I may have gotten to explore my gift a little sooner.
Mhm.
You know, a little sooner. And I can say, and I have many examples with my 4 boys, right? You
Mhm.
know, many examples. You know, I was kind of tough on them, but they remind me every now and then and say, Daddy, you were hard, you know. But you know what? It did me well.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, when my son Elijah was in China, he opened a door for a lady, and she looked back and said to him, I would love to meet your father. because
Mhm.
not because he looks, but because there's something that she's not accustomed to. She
Chivalry.
knows
Really?
she knows that Elijah would have gotten that from his dad.
Jamal?
For me, I strongly believe that a good father figure is, I won't say all the need, but is actually majority of it. In my experience, almost everything my father knew about cricket, and well, essentially almost everything about being a mom and father imprinted on me. So especially the cricket. So when it was like from primary school, everything I would have learned. I young aunts, the random person. My daddy was playing for Barbados, and he would have told me, "Listen, you want on the ball spin, you gotta put your fingers on the ball like this thing, you gotta flick your wrist and practice the timing." And so, and the same thing in football, you know, the reason we need to get burned out, man, no, you need to do shame, go and get burned out, man, you gotta get some string gear and some long socks. So I think like that plays a role from this area. But if you had to tackle it onto crime, I think more than just a father figure, we need, as we said, support systems. You need strong support systems within this field now. Because the person now, the young person that coming up, daddy might be at work. If you got younger uncles that around his age are a little older, brothers, older people around his age that can tell you, listen, like, you see that plotting thing you're doing, they go through that body, and then take out that PlayStation 5 and panda. You know, like, this is how we can deal with this here. Like, we can link this boy and I got a PlayStation and you play that for half hour, whatever. If you got other support systems now to get things happening, I think that's what really necessary, because a father is one man, as we say it. One man. Don't get me wrong, might had a strong impression on me. You know, I didn't really get to know my granddaddy for too long because he was old, you know. But yes, a father's one man. But I think, as I say, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that if we have strong support systems for the young men, I think a lot of the crime would diminish. And that's what we're seeing at this moment.
Well, boy, the villages of today are not the
Disappearing.
villages of yes, they are. I don't know if you want this village, no.
Yeah.
The village, no.
But we do know that they need community development. And when I say community development, I mean at all levels. Back in the day, if a child run outside naked, if the parent washing clothes in the back or whatever, you can know. Because some old lady used to call her pearly, right? With a holler hard. So it's all you see. And then you see, so there was a oneness. There was a almost like an external family, you know, or we call it extended family as the community relates, but no,
correct.
There's not much of that because of crime now. You see that everybody now want to keep to themselves, and it really started to happen in terms of COVID. You know, everybody was conditioned for 2 years to stay inside and social distance, and now we see the impact that I had over the years and so on. But we really need to bring back stronger community development.
The mind that you're too young to be saying back in the day. You can't say back in the day, you know. You're too young. The mind is saying back in the day.
I agree.
You can't say back in the day.
For me, back in the day would be 20 years ago. You know, that would be you going here.
Hey, tread lightly.
All right.
Pedro?
Yeah, I would have to support the father figure role because actually the topic very close to me. Little bit of history. I was a single father, so kudos to the single mothers out there and how they raise, particularly boy children. But I think that we need fathers or even father figures, because sometimes I do admit that as a woman you have to part ways. But I want to make a plea to women, really and truly, wherever possible, let the father play a role in each other's life. And to also plea to men to play a role. I remember when I had my daughter, I had some issues at that point in time. And one of the guys, the older guy to me at that point in time, man, the children belong with me. Don't worry about that, man, over there. I was like, okay. But you know what I mean? I then went and said, no, I could be there for my daughter.
Correct.
And I would have had a podcast to my daughter when she was 2 years old. So I'm just a plea to men, play that role within your children's life. Daughters need their fathers, and more so, we're saying it, sons need their fathers.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Definitely.
Right? So that's my plea to men. Play a role. It doesn't have to be every single day you're doing, but make sure every single week you spend some time. And it's not just spending time, it's finances. And if you can't provide at a point in time, take the child from the mother and care about your mother or whatever kids be, so you can spend time with the grandmother, but play a role. Have that support, as you're saying. Have that support. That's my plea to men.
Ramon?
I think that the gentlemen are extremely correct. I'll go a little further, and I would say that men they need sometimes the opportunity to communicate when they're not feeling well, you know,
Very
when they're
good,
feeling
very
down. They need that safe space sometimes, not a space where, you know, you go and you communicate, they say you soft, man. You know, they need that safe space. Sometimes they might need to shed a couple of tears. They might need to shed tears and dribble and all the things, you know, that someone would do that is in pain,
Let it out.
emotional pain, because some hold it inside, and then, you know, another situation happens, and that is when the anger really comes out, you know, and they do this kind of cry, right? But they need that safe space, someone to talk to, that safe space, and someone to talk to who wouldn't judge them, and who wouldn't say, you know what, I use a man. You can handle him, man. You're a big man. You're a big man.
I mean, that is motivation in some cases, right? It is, but I understand what you're
But
saying.
you need that space, you know, so that you know, you can communicate and just get over the feeling.
Supporting what you're saying, Ramon, and it's not necessarily institutional. So men are not necessarily want to go to a psychiatrist and sit down in the office, so to speak. But you're talking about life coaches, and there are people then who are on the ground who actually understand life, understand what you're talking about.
Right.
So that life coach is what you're talking about. Then that the person want to go to and express themselves. Who that person may be being through the same thing that they would have gone through. And that's we really need that.
And I'm glad you touched on that too. Sorry. I'm glad you touched on that. Because remember, I believe that it is taboo to go to seek help. It is still taboo in Barbados, probably, and by extension the Caribbean. You know that when you go now to seek professional help, because it's strict, you know, there is some level of stigma attached to what you're doing. You know, we don't take it serious. We don't take mental health serious.
Correct.
I am very serious about that, though. You know, we don't. We you know, we go and we seek help. I use a madman, this and that, and it turns me for, you know. So that is something that we need to change as a society, to take mental health seriously. We take injury seriously. We receive a broken foot. What do? We go to the doctor. You know, if we are broken,
Men don't like the doctor either.
Hardly ever.
broken emotionally, and you need to talk to someone professionally. You do so, you know, but you know that's something that we don't talk about a lot, and we don't.
So just to piggyback on that, Ramon, you know, in our society, there's a saying that big men don't cry.
It's true.
Big men don't cry. But let me say this: the biggest man ever walked the earth cried. Jesus wept.
Yes, he did.
And I even heard my brother told me a time. He said, "Listen, boy, if I go cry, it's crazy. And if I go cry, it's either getting C or it's getting bath." Oh. But on a serious note, but we as men, we are not taught to speak about what's happening to us. As men, men don't talk. That's why women, it's saying that one of the reasons why women live longer than men is because they get the opportunity to think. But we men, we are emotionally constipated. And we don't release certain things. And anything that is not moving, well, you know what's happened?
Correct.
It stinks.
Stays,
Yeah, it gets stagnant.
It becomes stagnant. And that is why a lot of our men die from the inside out. Because we carry so much in here and we don't talk. So from today we all talking, right?
We are trying as much as possible. We are trying as much as possible.
What you're saying there, it actually brings back the comment, I think it was Daniel D'Souza. He made a comment about the abuse of drugs and etc. too as well.
Right.
So instead of speaking, what they're doing then is that we call it just we had a term for it just now. But the coping. So what is happening now is that we're using these drugs and alcohol or whatever the case, the abuse of it. Whereby then that to make you feel better in the point in time. But you're just in the moment you feel bad, but then you go back and it's still the same issue. Right? So don't get masked with the drugs and the alcohol. Let's deal with the issues and them head on. Right? So that would be why I would say that I remember I I've never taken drugs.
Mhm.
I do like alcohol,
God bless you.
but the thing about it is that I've experienced a real serious drunk,
Mhm.
and I told myself, the things that I did when I was drunk, I can't believe people told me it's what I did.
No, yeah.
And I made a pat on myself. Not I stopped drinking,
Mhm.
but I never get
Yeah,
myself back to that
Yeah,
state
yeah.
where I could not control myself.
Mm.
And that is one of the things when I see young people, it pains me. When I see young people, young, strong men, walking the road bareback and you see that the like a molly or something like that, whatever the case may be, right, and gone off, right, as we call it, or drunk to the point. It pains me because I'm saying no. Don't do anything that you don't have full control of yourself.
Control, yeah.
And that's linked back to crime now again.
Mhm.
Crime is going to happen because you're not thinking rationally.
Mhm.
Even if I drink too much, I feel lethargic in doing my daily duties.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm saying, imagine those people then drinking even more than me, smoking all these different things or whatever the case may be
Correct,
for a
correct.
whole day, not eating properly. You can't think
Yeah,
straight.
Can't function.
So when something happens as simple as that's a mash on your toe,
Mhm.
you're ready to fight.
Yeah, agitated, right?
So-
And just by the way as well too, reports have it that a lot of these youngsters, before they commit these crimes, they take the same Molly.
Mhm.
You know, there are other drugs, obviously. Molly's one, X is one, you know, and they take the drug because under normal circumstances, under normal cognitive function,
Yeah.
they would not do something.
Yeah.
It is
To
true.
erase the emotion.
I
Mhm.
tell you, you know, so
Mhm.
you know, drugs can be a really serious thing.
All right, Ramon, we're back to you. How does financial instability in the family affect the choices of young people?
Yeah, and I didn't mention desperation.
Mhm.
You know, you as a young man,
Mhm.
sometimes you might feel as though, you know, I must, as a man, you must look after and take care of this
Mhm.
pressure is on you. You know, I must do something. You might have sometimes your baby crying, little one crying,
Mhm.
you know, see tears and so forth of your little one. And I mean, this is no, and this disclaimer, this is no excuse for crime and violence. Let me just look in the camera and say, this is no excuse for crime and violence.
Correct.
But these are some of the factors that play a role,
Mhm.
right? Desperation. Child is hungry. My mother is hungry. My father is hungry. I must make a way for them.
Mhm.
And that sometimes can lead to crime. Mind you, and just let you know this, there's a correlation. There is a correlation, and this is backed up with data and so forth. There's a correlation between poverty and high levels of crime. There is a correlation.
Yeah.
Between, right? And that's what we're seeing now, a correlation.
So, Jamal, would you say that sometimes the youth are pushed into crime because they cannot provide?
I would say that I know people that have went through that situation and that scenario, but it isn't always the case, right? We define crime as a lot of different things in terms of like, for example, crime could be underage sex, you know. So the crime goes on a lot of different areas, right? But let me talk about crime. We normally talk about violence,
Yes.
right? And I think that we normally see it as violence, some way a robbery or something. But I think once again we discussed previously that when it comes to mentorship, support systems, the failure of those things is actually what continues the process of crime in the younger ages. And even in some older ages as well, too, because some of them could get some good advice and then they'll probably be punished for a narrow path. But yeah, I think that some of them are pushed into it because when you can find that somebody, I don't want to call no names, I gotta be very careful not to call somebody name. But when you find that some people going through a situation where like they can't eat and the mommy ain't coming home, when she come home, no, she don't got enough money to support lights off in the house or whatever. And this young girl here now, and the older man see she and like she and whatever. You know, you see where it coming from. I've actually known some women, like well, I call them women now, but back then they were underage as well, who dealing with some older men. And I say nothing of it is right, but because of the situation that the parent was in, the lights in the house off, the man, like the woman, young girl, whatever, they have a little exchange. She now has bring income to the house now to help with those bills. She has no come and essentially start working for that household. So there's a lot of different areas I could say, and I would say that it is technically pushing them into that area because there's no fallback. There's no what's the word? Right word to use. There's no solution from government or the powers that be that actually will help negate or prevent this from happening. So it will be an ongoing process until somebody or some agency decides to get up and say, no, what, we can put a stop to this. We can find out all the poor people, why they're poor, and start creating solutions to fix and nullify this problem. Because until that's happened, it'll be an ongoing process.
We have a very interesting question in the comments from Mr. Nigel Newton. At what stage of a male's development can he be declared a man?
For me, when I was young, this can sound a little bit contrary to a lot of people, but my father told me whenever he left the house, I was a man in the house. So from as small as I can remember, probably around 6, 7. But on a serious note, no, a man is determined by what he can do, you know, in terms of capabilities. So, for example, if a rat get in the house, you know, the men expecting the girl to go and say, get rid of that, or the mother to get rid of that. They said, young boy, go chase out, you know, and he go and get up and go and do it. At least that's the household I was raised up in. But the truth of the matter is, I think it comes back down to capability. So, you know, as soon as he could leave school, he technically be classified as a man. You know, you expect to bring in some sort of income. You expect to come and help with the household, do certain things. If they got an issue with the light, you might be taught from an early age how to put screw back in the bulb, you know, then kind of things. I think that it starts as early as probably when you leave school. But what do you think about that, Andrew?
So a man, being a man does not determine if you are a man just because you have pubic hairs. It's not anything, it's not biological. It's in here, you're mine. Because the truth is, we have some 80-year-old boys running around here. Right? Because a man constitutes. What constitutes a man is a person who has the ability to be mature in every aspect. So when it comes to dealing with his children, when it comes to dealing with his finances, whatever aspect of life, it depends. It's a behavior, their habits, not age.
Pedro?
Yeah, I support that. It is the ad. It would be a man is when he's responsible. When he makes his own decisions and is not a follower, but he leads. And really, men are called to lead, and he's supposed to lead. Lead the home, lead his community. So if it is, and again, sometimes we always put it down to finance. And I mean, there are some women many women who make more than men know. So what I'm saying is that it may not always be finance that he has to bring, and monetary, but that leadership, that showing, okay, this is, I'm going to teach you this, or whatever this like lesson today, or whatever the case may be, right? That is the becoming of a man when he recognizes that he has to lead and take the role that he's supposed to be called upon, whether that be, and I mean, as simple as it may be. I've seen situations. I was talking to some youngsters. They don't carry garbage at home, right? They don't wash the ears, right? So parents need to stop spoon feeding them as well too. Give them responsibilities from an early age. I find that parents and they think that the children know are their best friends, right? Give them responsibility from a young age and teach them to lead. Teach them to think independently. And I think once you've reached that stage of thinking independently and not following others, you're then answering this question, then you're becoming a man.
Ramon.
All right. Well, if we talk legally, a man, if he means an adult male, is 18 and over, a male 18 and over. But if you talk about social construct, I think a man is someone who's a provider, someone who, well, not shares, but he takes responsibility of what happens in the household. He takes responsibility of his young child. So, you know, I just echo the views of my comrades. Responsibility is one attribute of a man. Responsibility. You know, there are some men, some men 16,
Mhm.
17, 18,
Mhm.
right? They're currently working, they're currently looking after their household. And because they're taking responsibility, they look around, there's no one else to take any responsibility. They say, you know what? They raise the hand and they say, you know what? I am going to take responsibility. I am going to provide for his household. Right? So that is my opinion where man is concerned.
We have another question from Nigel Newton. Gentlemen, do you think that there's a need for the development of healthy male bonding?
Well, let me first answer that. I think that, even though it,
What is
because
it?
because I spoke about that.
Mhm,
I spoke about sharing their views. I
mhm,
talked about males sharing their views
Open.
in a safe space.
mhm.
They have to pray. That's a part of the male bonding. So that question was asked because I spoke about that earlier.
Andrew, you seem eager to get into this.
Yeah, before I think it is very necessary for us as men
Yeah.
to really speak about what is happening to us,
Mhm,
because as Pedro rightfully said, we want to take up the roles of being leaders and providers and playing that role, but no one knows with the children. Some children don't even know the pains and the difficulties and the arrows that a father has to bear,
Mhm.
right, in order to provide for the children and for his family. In a situation like that, he doesn't want to go and lean on his wife or his girl or his spouse, whatever the case may be,
mhm,
and say, honey, I'm feeling this and this is happening, and you start to cry. You can do that. I didn't say that you shouldn't,
mhm,
but you can do that, right? I do that,
mhm,
right? But I really believe that it should be a safe space, right, where a man come to a room of men and feel comfortable
Mm.
and feel comfortable in that environment that they say, listen, man, I going through this situation. What do you think? Have you ever experienced such?
Mm.
What should I do in this situation? Right? And I can tell you something, right? I have been in many difficult situations. And you see, from the time that I spoke about it,
Yeah.
there's such a relief,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Such a relief. I even remember when my mother died, I did not cry because I was in an environment that says big men don't cry.
cry.
Wow.
It's not macho. Mhm.
Listen, I tell you something, right? Saying big come up on my throat.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I went to the doctor, the doctor said me, said, Andrew boy, ain't nothing he could do for you. But all he can tell you, if you don't cry, you can follow your mother.
Mm.
A grief lump, yeah. And many men who walk around with grief lumps from different situations that happening to them, and they don't speak about it. You know, when you don't speak about these things, it can cause cancer.
Mm.
It can cause all kind of different internal diseases. That's why we gotta talk.
Mhm.
That's why we gotta release that.
Well said, Andrew. And we have come to the end of segment 2, and we now move on to segment 3, the root causes beyond crime. Pedro, so I come to you first. How have schools, churches, and families struggled to keep young people on track?
We hear that in Bible it will say refer to Bible a lot.
Amen.
God chastises.
You go to church,
people.
Pedro?
I don't know. No, but I think that I used to go to church very often. I was very active
Yep.
in the church, and what if the Bible is a guide for life, and I refer to it very often.
Very good, very good.
So the parent God chastises the child he loves.
Mhm.
And what I think then that we don't chastise. We tell people what we want, what they want to hear.
Very good.
Right?
Very good.
And even the question just about healthy male bonding, etc.
Mhm.
If you're in a group with your men, the peers or whatever the case be, tell a man he's wrong.
Mhm.
Right? Tell a man he's wrong. Don't just say, man, you do that to you, do that to you. No, you go free. No. know what I mean?
Mhm.
Tell him it's wrong.
Mhm.
All right. And not only that, you need to do some self-reflection as well too.
Yeah.
And how did I contribute to the situation? All right. And I think that's what's really needed. But in terms of the family, the churches, etc., I think that we need to get back that support group going within the families. One of the things that we done mentioned earlier is that there are lost siblings raising each other as well too. All right. So therefore, there's not that mentorship within the home because children raising children. Right? The parent gone out and leaving the 14-year-old the responsibility. Right? And then that 14-year-old supposed to enjoy the life, but they're stressed out in monitoring the younger siblings, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we need to look at as well. And how do we provide that support then at that level?
So would you say that we need to rethink community role?
Yes. I think I would have painted earlier in terms of where the support should come from. So we need, first of all, to highlight people within our communities. And I know that we've had some like community awards, etc. But if you look at the community awards, they're normally, again, the persons that are of certain stature within the communities. All right. The middle income, well-off person. Right. But we need to highlight persons at the grassroots as well as the community level that are heroes within their communities. So you may have had a guy who may be, again, our at-risk youth, but he played football for Barbados. That person should have a picture painted or something like that when it come into his community, said, look, you're the hero of this community. And it's a bigger picture as well. We don't celebrate our own enough. So when we look at, if we go to, I went to Antigua, and in Antigua you have Sir Vivian Richards' picture and what he's done for West cricket in the airport. We go to India, you go to Australia, go to England, these places. You have halls of fames, etc., for all the renowned sports persons, right? Even in St. Kitts, you see the footballers, etc. And when you come around in Barbados, we don't have pictures of persons like a Shea Hope or you know what I mean, on the Jason Holder, Carlos Bradford after hitting 4 sixes on bus stops, right? As simple as that may be. So we need to highlight persons at community level, right, and showcase that person and say, well, look, I was not able to make it to be a minister. I was not able to make it to be a board director or a teacher or at least a bank manager or bank teller or whatever the case may be, right? But I'm working the road and I'm the bushing, etc. But I play for Barbados. I play for Barbados. Why can't his poster be put? So one of the things I want to see happening is that we encourage and motivate people by these smaller things in life.
I totally agree. Go ahead.
That's very good.
And just before you go on, you mentioned sports there a couple of moments ago. I would love the Barbados Republic government to please revisit the Barbados Defense Force sports book. I know you would have played some cricket against team that you beat at, right? You had youngsters, young men, women as well too. But at that point in time, women weren't really as active where cricket is concerned. Right? You played against them. Right? They had some very good cricketers. So you would come out of school, right? And you would be given a little stipend doing something that you enjoy doing.
Not just the BDS sports program, but the JS also, the Barbados Youth Service also had a sports program. They had a team as well too.
And the Barbados Labour Party like government, they have cited financial challenges, being able to fund that program. Young people, you are investing in you where that program is concerned. And they cited financial challenges, and you would have gone about regathering every single month a different project. $16 million, whereas and I did a little research as well too. The Barbados Defense Force sports program costs about $1 million a year to run the program. That includes equipment, that includes the little stipend that they would give us. You know how many youngsters that are in trouble because they had an avenue and a space to play cricket? something they love.
Very
Because some of them obviously they weren't too fluent in the English, they weren't too good at the maths, right? They weren't too good at the math.
Mhm.
And they were able to do so. And I can tell you something now. When we as the Democrat Liberal Party, we become government, we will restart that program and it's going to be bigger and better. And every single time they come on the program, I am going to make mention of the Barbados sports program. Every single time. And
What
Go ahead.
one of the things, Ramon, is that and I'm not one that just criticizes for criticizing sake. If the current administration does something well, I'll say it, right? But I support you on that because when you do things temporarily, right? I'll give an example, and a person will knock you for saying these things, but giving someone, you talk about a fish and giving them a fish, etc., so to speak, giving $300 out to every person is a lazy way of administration. Very lazy way. Similarly, if you look at the sewage tax that is on the water bills, etc., every person, irrespective of their income in Barbados, is paying the same amount, $37.50 a month.
I think it's more than that. That's to make sense.
So if you are making $25,000 a month, you're paying the same amount as someone who's making $1,000 a month. It's a lazy tax. And what I'm trying to say here is that given the $300, right, was a one-off, we need to stop with these one-offs and have programs that are sustainable, that are not just for one day or for 1 month, but carry through for the entire calendar year. So it's supporting you. The BDS sports program, the Barbados Youth Service, those are year-long programs. And if we look at the PICs as well, as I mentioned, for the community groups and the sports clubs, put money in there because they are active throughout the year.
You know what happens to the one-off? You know why there are the one-offs?
Because they're gimmicks.
You gotta come back to me.
Yeah, they're the gimmicks for political votes.
You have to be loyal to me.
Yeah.
You have to come back to me. That's
Correct.
No.
That's why it's one-off. That's why we have so much short job contract. You have to be loyal to me. You gotta come back to me. So that is what the Barbados Liberal Party-led government is about. Coming back to me. You gotta be loyal to me.
It's called sophisticated slavery.
All right.
Very well. All right, Jamal, the question is to you. Would you say that young people trust law enforcement?
I can be very honest right now. If you ask a 6-year-old, right, about being a police officer, you can find it all as static because the movies they watch, the little animations that you see on YouTube and everything is glorified. And if you watch Paw Patrol and everything is made the police officer like the most duteous individual in life, right? But if I had to ask somebody 10 years older, 16-year-old, then like law enforcement, it's more be a police. You can hear now. And the reason is because I'm trying to be very, 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 very honest here, but the reason is because there's a disconnect between what you see when you were young, like 16, and what you see when you were 6. This is a whole different experience. And especially if you ask people that we cast the WSA, that we see as the WSA, people that the boys on the block, as they call them, right? Them ain't want to see police. In fact, them is run from police. Them and the ones that get boastful enough, there's see the police as can't do me nothing. But I would do whatever I want them. So if I be honest with you, right? If I had to use an overall statement, I would say that no, the youth do not support, trust, or even believe in the police. And I can give you a quick story. I recently posted one of these last DLP TV moments on Instagram, and they got a lot of inboxes. And a lady inboxed me and told me that how police were, because we're talking about the new Policing Act and 2025 amendment. And she said, how police were? I said, what happened? She goes through the tell, right? And she said that she contacted police a couple months ago to do something for her. And the long and short of it was that it was never dealt with the way she wanted. They didn't even turn up to the person's house. The most they did was call, right? So then these sort of situations happening. And then just before I walked in here, I saw a comment under the same video saying that just last week Friday, somebody lost their life. A young fella lost their life in a incident. Then they thought they were helping the police, that the person was laid to rest. So what this shows is that there's a lot of resentment towards the police and overall law enforcement.
So what would you say the youth is looking for from the police? What are they looking to get?
I think it might be more simple than you think. I think it's a matter of respect, because there's so many horror stories that could be shared. I don't want to do that to the police, to be honest, because they're supposed to be people who represent us and protect us, several protect us actually, right? But there's a lot that's going on that is not the right way of doing things, and a lot of people have a problem with that. So many illegal activities, the right word that we use, right? And let me say this very clear: all police are not all bad. Let me just make that pretty clear. All police are not all bad, but the few bad ones make so much bad for the bunch, because not everybody sees as an organized crime syndicate that you can't beat, because them is who's get calling, if things go wrong. So, people don't really trust and value them like before. I could give a quick story. I hear young fellas, I was talking about being on the block, and, and the van, what we call it, van, like the task force van pull up, and before the van stop, we hear shots, and these are places that have, like a lot of crime, a lot of poverty and so on, but that is not the way to do things. So when you have these incidents happening so frequent, even though it's a few people, you see on social media, everything publicized and so on, people think the trust, it's less than about the trust, I know situations where people say that their houses were cornered, the whole gap had task force and what we call men in green, as I call them, men in green, like army people, who entered the house at minutes of 4 in the morning, and up to now the owners have not seen a warrant, and they have not found anything when they search at the people place. They have not found anything to convict or to even charge anybody. So these are things that people don't get any justice for in return. Who brings justice to the police? So you understand why they will have a huge disconnect, and people don't really value the way in which things happening. And then the new police say, once again, they can mention it. They're asking people, civilians or citizens, to help or aid or assist the police in special circumstance that puts them under a lot of risk. And I haven't seen any clauses that show that they're going to be reimbursed, they're going to be assisted, they're going to get a medal, and going to get anything. So a lot of people don't value, it just seems like things are going the wrong way where the police is concerned. I could say so much, they don't really pay them properly. They, them underpaid, understaffed. There's a situation where they want to put certain police in higher position, higher rank, give them more pay than the rest. It is no equality, there's no fairness. So I just think that the whole policing system needs to be looked into on a deeper level, and you actually create solutions instead of what we call knee-jerk reactions to try and solve problems. That's
Melissa, if you don't mind, if I could jump in here,
Sure, go ahead.
Just a bit. I know most persons in Barbados would know my story, which I don't want to elaborate on at this present point of time. But I personally have the biggest excuse, I would say, in the world to dislike police. But the truth is, I cannot imagine Barbados without police. So we have a love-hate relationship with the police. But the question of the day, what can we do to bridge that gap between the police and its citizens? Because we have to live together. And if crime is to go down, or we're to have a decrease in crime in our country, there must be some amicable relationship between its citizens and the police. We have to find a way. I remember years ago, the police used to come into your neighborhood and play sports. Police would even come to the schools and be like mentors to the children, which means that the children will start to look up to the police. You know what I mean? We have to find ways and methods and programs that we can do to bridge that gap, because we cannot, as a society, we can't do before the police. I just said that.
I could piggyback on what you're saying there, because we can't do without the police.
Right.
And when we have sometimes we try to frighten our children by saying, might as well be a police for you.
Ah,
What I actually doing is starting people believe that there's an issue with the police, all right? And conditioning people to believe that there's an issue there. There's no issue with the police, right? The police are there to serve and protect. I know that sometimes we will have some issues before. However, if it happens now, the first person we're going to call is the police.
correct.
So therefore, we have to support them.
Yeah.
Despite the laws that we're seeing coming, etc. I'm not saying that we have to go and sit up, but it's not been heard. But I think the whole purpose, and I believe what the intent may have to be, is that we support the police in execution. So when I see people pushing back or what, or getting in the face of police when they execute their duties, let them do their job. Let them do their job.
I agree.
So because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are there to come when we want them.
Yes.
And we have a situation where I remember a time of someone told me they're called 211, and they were told they got called the particular station district, right? And the person gave them the landline number. Say, person, well, I'm on a credit, or because how you call this number, transfer me. They can transfer. So what I think that we need to do is improve the systems there as well within the service, right? So that there is you can call toll free if you want to call it. There's no cost to the person if they're using their phone to call a police station. That's one of the things they want to discuss. Additionally, we talk about pay. And my son is 4 years old, and 5 this month. He wants to be a police. So when you're growing up, as you start off by saying, Jamal,
don't discourage him, huh?
Right? So he wants to be put at this age. And I think I remember up to even secondary school, I also want to be a police. But I don't want to do the cadet thing or etc. I don't want to go and do direct traffic. I want talk. But I want to be a police. Right? So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we have to support them.
We have to support
they're
them.
not paid that well. And therefore that's one of the deterrents to going into the force as well. But I want to say we have to support the police and let them do their job.
Well said.
I got you mentioned that. I think political interference must disappear, because how someone will respect you if you made a decision and then someone higher up makes another decision and a canceled decision that the person initially would have made, the police officer would have made. The police deserve every raise of pay, every bonus there is in this universe, not just in Barbados, in this universe.
Correct.
Because every single day, any nanosecond, their lives can be taken. Any nanosecond, their lives. So give the police, those parts of the public servants,
One deserve
what they deserve. That is my thing.
Correct.
All right, so we have another comment here question from Nigel Newton. Gentlemen, do you think the Black family has a vision of its future? If not, how significant is a vision of the future to the success of the family and nation? Andrew, you first.
That is a
I just want to say the viewers really asking some very challenging questions.
You want to take it? I'm taking it.
Very challenging questions.
Well, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Ramon don't want to take it first. No, because this is actually
that's heavy.
It's
Very good, though. Is Nigel? Very good,
Newton.
Nigel.
I bring it home to a field that the three of us are actually in, insurance.
Right.
And we talk about crime, we talk about poverty alleviation, and all these different things. And I'll say this: one is to remove poverty or generational curse is generational wealth.
Yes.
And what we as a Black people don't do well is plan for the next in line. So therefore, I'm poor, but my daughter and my son, they're not supposed to be the same way.
correct.
All right. Therefore, better off. And by better off, a simple insurance plan. All right. When you die, it leaves something that they can start off.
Well, you want to buy a policy from you right now?
So no, I'm being serious. So we need insurance is not taught in schools, and we have this fear about insurance. But other races, because you mentioned the Black family, are buying up insurance policies, and not our Black people. So that I'm serious. We need to look at generational wealth.
That is a fantastic perspective, Pedro. I remember, as you know, you read it, but you said the people without a vision perish. And I remember years ago when my last son is 22, and I remember when Jadon was about 5 years old, we created something called a vision board.
At 5.
Yeah, at 5. Elijah was 6 and Azara was about 8. And we created this vision board. And we went on the internet, download pictures. I see he wants to play football. My other son says he wants to travel. And we have different things on this vision board. Listen, I can tell you something, right? Within 10 years, we would have achieved as a family 80% of those things that was on the vision board.
Wonderful.
That was on the vision board. I believe that every family, and we even created a mission statement for our family.
Willing to share?
You're putting me on the spot now. Wow. But I can subquote it. To be the best family in our neighborhood.
Okay.
Right? And being the best family in our neighborhood meant that, you know, that we could have even mentored other families. So about how you know a father will come to me and say about how, you know, I see how you got your children, you know, they're playing football. You know, when my children finish playing football, because they played for Kickstart, and when they finished playing football, I would make them run laps after the football game, and the other parents would be like, so vexed with me. But you know what? It paid off. It paid off. So I would say, to sit with your family as Black people, you know, have a vision for your family. Even have mission, you know, do a vision board. Dream. You know, one of the problems with us as Black people is that we don't dare dream anymore.
Yeah, dare to dream.
We just let the internet and Facebook and all these different social platforms dream for us. We gotta come together as a family and start to dream, right? And I even in my family now, I said, well, listen, you know, I told the wife that we can have a date night and we can talk about goals, things we want to achieve, things we want to do with the children, and include the children, because the other people in our society, with a different pigmentation, does the same thing. So if we want to elevate ourselves as a people in society, we need to implement these things.
It starts at home.
It all starts at home.
To start even younger too.
Yeah.
And I think that as a Black family, you should have a family meeting. You should have family meetings, even if you do it every month, to tackle family issues. You know, there's any disagreement and so forth among family members, you should have a family meeting. You know?
And it gets your children be able to articulate, to speak, especially the boys.
Yes, of course. But I find everyone is doing their own separate thing.
Correct.
You know, and when catastrophe hits, you know, that's the time, a lot of the time, that's when the family comes together. But you know what happened? The catastrophe has already happened. But there are ways you could have, you know, curtailed that. You could have dealt with that before it occurred. Having a conversation amongst family members. You go to work and you have monthly meetings and so forth. They're not your family, you know. You spend a little more time with them sometimes, but they are not your family. So I think that we should have family meetings as Black family.
One of the things, the other thing to the question in terms of success of family and a nation, one of the things that we probably have to do a study on it, the number of Black businesses that have closed down. Some businesses that have closed down in Barbados. What I find is that the younger generation don't continue, whether it be a bright shop, whether it be a mechanic shop, whatever the case be, they don't continue the family business.
Correct.
They figure, man, that ain't for me. But and so the legacy that was there for years is passing off.
Mhm.
So we need to maintain family businesses as well.
You know what you call that, Pedro? Rightfully said. We call that business succession planning. Even in our business, Ramon, there aren't any. I don't know any third generation black businesses in Barbados. I don't know of any third generation of black businesses. Right?
They're
Right.
not, they're
Right.
not.
But you can see there's some businesses that gives examples that did not have adequate business succession planning in place, or let me say funded business succession planning in place. You had like alcohol, you had Annie Wilson, right? You had bankers. So there you go.
Mm.
Well said. Right, so we come to the end of segment 3, and we now move on to the last segment, solutions, restoring hope.
Mhm.
So to Andrew,
Right.
what financial literacy or job creation initiatives could redirect young people from crime?
Again, well, I truly believe, and I know I can sound like a broken record, right? That if we could come together as a collective, just like we did the Commission on Crime report, and we could come together as a collective and form some programs that will be able to capture the imagination of our young men and women,
minds.
right? Giving them the opportunities to explore their gifts and talents. I believe that would equally playing field they would level the playing field, right? And it would eradicate the inequality with that exists within our society, because many young men and women did not have the opportunity to explore their gift because it was outside the realms of academia.
Normal. What is
Yeah,
normal? What is
was-
deemed normal?
Yeah, it was deemed normal. Yeah, and if you're not academic, that means that you're seen in society as a failure.
Yeah.
Right, and then you're gonna wait till you were 16 or 17 then to go to the other what do you call it?
Community
college and
technic,
yeah,
skills
yeah,
training.
At that time, a culture has already been placed into that young person's
That you're not good
mental
enough.
faculties.
Yeah.
Right, and they're not going to operate at the optimum level that they could if we were to capture their skill and talent at a very young age. They're going to do something else different, something else that on the program of that particular institution, and not what is their gifting.
So my question to all of you, what was the first time that you heard about something called entrepreneurship?
For me, I first learned about entrepreneurship in secondary school. They had something called the $20 challenge. I was in probably, I think I first learned about it in second form, but it wasn't exposed to us in second form, though. I think we first got the opportunity in fourth form. And that was a treat because it let me learn that, well, it let me learn that actually gave me opportunity to show how resourceful I could be. Quick backstory, coming up, my mom used to bake a lot. My father eventually started baking as well. And it became a household thing to do on Thursdays and Fridays and so on. We would bake and they would sell in the workplace and so on. And in that moment of being in fourth form, it gave me the chance to actually make legal money in school, because for those who don't know, selling in schools at that time, I don't know if it is now, but at that time it was illegal. So when they give me the $20 chance, I was like, what? So I took the opportunity and it was a fun thing. I started doing cupcakes and I was very skilled in doing it because I learned it from my mom. So much so that when I was in, well, let me go and get all the details with that. But I actually was offered the opportunity to do junior challenge in secondary school. I didn't take the opportunity. It was a little bit camera shy back then. You wouldn't believe it now. But the fun thing is that I got the opportunity to do cupcakes, and I sell one crate. After what I realized that, the crate sell out real fast. People complain they can't get more. So I started, I gave the opportunity to realize that you have people's skills. Well, not even have, but to cultivate, develop people's skills. I learned that I can money manage better. I actually at one point in fourth form was making like $300 in like 2 days. So just think about it. It's all of a sudden cupcakes and nothing else. So imagine that. So it's just a funny thing that I think that if more people were exposed to it from an early age, you'd be surprised how many full, strong businesses you could have, you know. But we don't do that. In fact, I think, I don't know, you guys will probably correct me if need be, but most people don't come across entrepreneurship now from later on, like when you reach like tertiary level, because you either start it and find out, you know what, a particular course will be able to help me in a certain area. But for me, there's no one course that fits all in entrepreneurship. But to answer your question, my first experience was in secondary school at around like 14 years old. That's when I first came across entrepreneurship. I had the opportunity to venture into it. I don't know if that program is still going, but I would hope so. And if not, maybe somebody should look into, you know, developing that program from even an earlier age to do like, you know, to get some people more interested in entrepreneurship from a young age.
Ramon?
I think in my secondary school, let's go back. That's only about 5 years or so.
Wishful thinking.
This was really what I was taught as a young man in school. You go to school, you learn, you get a job, you get a job, you get a house, you get a car. And the teachers made it seem that it was just as easy as that. Just as easy as that.
And let it be known, a house and a car is not an asset.
There we go. Right? But that's not what it was taught. It's only when now I started to expand my knowledge. And so for do more reading, do more research, better videos, stuff like that, that I realized that I can own my own business. That was about in my mid-20s. But all this time, I had the mentality. Like school, learn, job. Where's my house? Where's my car? You know? And I can appeal to, I believe the teachers, right? They do a marvelous job. But, you know, you should expose the students to real life situations, so real life occurrences, what can happen in real life, right? In real life. And the reality is that I had to learn the hard way where entrepreneurship is concerned as well too, because I made mention of my little chicken business that I had. You know, I made mention a couple shows before.
Yeah, intimate and fast.
Of course, you know, it's hard work. It is not easy, and that is something that we need to educate and communicate to the young people as well too. Entrepreneurship, in a little Mickey Mouse thing, you know, it is serious business. It's serious business. Lots of sleepless nights. And so this is not me discouraging. This is me being real, right? It is not the easiest thing to go through.
It's true.
But, you know, you can have a situation where your time is flexible, you know. Also, you might be doing something that you love.
Yeah.
More than you be doing something you love.
That you love.
Right? So I would say my mid-20s.
Andrew?
Yeah. You want me to give away my age now, right? The rent. But I was around 28 when I entered into the YES program, which is called the Youth Entrepreneur Scheme. I had a full business then. My brother and I, we were sell ITs, and burgers, and you know, brown burgers and that kind of stuff. Like the food, yeah. And that at the YES program, the taught us financial literacy, whereas that it caused you to think outside the realms of what was taught to us. So it was pretty much a paradigm shift in our mental faculties, where it taught you how to become a investor rather than a consumer.
Correct.
Because how the system and the educational system is structured, it teaches us how to be consumers, how to spend our money in things that will not yield or to become an asset.
Yeah.
And only things that are liabilities.
Yeah.
And so we have to shift our mental faculties and have a paradigm shift where our educational system is concerned. That and let me say this. I believe that financial literacy should be a part of our educational system.
School curriculum. Yeah.
Mhm.
It should be. If we truly want to liberate our people,
Mhm.
if we truly want to refrain from giving them handouts,
Mhm.
we have to give them a hand up, not handout,
Well said.
right? We have to empower people. If we're not empowering our people,
Mhm.
right, we are not doing anything. In addition to that, you know, the government does things that looks really bad. And I have no scruples of coming and say, listen, I had a good time at Carrie Fest. It looked very good.
Mhm.
But let me say this, right? It's like putting a plaster on a cancer sore because some people in the country are still suffering.
Correct.
Correct.
A lot of people in the country
And we
still
still don't know
suffering.
how much money was spent on
I know a
Caribbean.
lot of money
Yeah.
was spent, but we want to look good to the outside world.
Mhm.
But what about the people? The horn drum beats first.
Correct.
Horn drum beats first. Let's look after our people first. Let's empower our people.
Mhm.
And if you empower your people, right, you're gonna have a very productive society. And if you have a productive society, you can finish with IMF.
Correct. Totally agree.
Enough said.
You talk about Carrie Festa,
Yeah.
but they have some fireworks. You gotta have something fireworks. What cost?
Oh my God.
That's the question you should ask.
Brother,
first.
we want the cost of the entire.
I don't know. I just say
Yeah.
it was a fantastic show.
It looked
Fireworks,
good.
but the cost.
Yeah.
So you talk about the whole Carrie Festa,
Mhm.
but let me start with
Mhm.
at least the fireworks. Because I'm telling you, fireworks aren't cheap.
Mhm.
Aren't cheap at all.
But it just goes to show how much money to spend.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
reality
How
after
big
the-
the budget was.
Of course, after the fun and follow, and I mentioned this at the show before, some people they have to consume sardines and biscuits and so forth. After all the fun and follow, there's a sober moment.
But this is what I'm
What
saying,
happened?
man.
All I
Agree.
can say about Carrie Festa was it was a lovely display, or we call it showcase. But then all said and done, as Ramon was saying, we back to reality again now. We showed the world that, oh, this is what we could do if we tried. But there's so many homes that people still not have employment. And some people did get a chance at employment, but that was very short-lived. How long was Carrie Festa? You know, just food for thought. Just food for thought.
And again, I want to make it clear to the viewers, we're not knocking Carrie Festa.
Oh, definitely
Of
not.
course
The
not.
creative live, and you know, I love creatives.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
live,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. But for that moment,
For that moment,
Mhm.
yeah.
where's the creative industry? Where is
Right.
that?
Are we gonna build on the Carrie Festa now? What's gonna come out of Carrie Festa? Free movement of craft, free movement of talent, free movement of goods. Can we create a entity called the Caribbean the Caribbean University of Talent?
Mhm.
Something,
Mm.
but don't let Carrie Festa just die. Let's build on what.
Expand on it.
Yeah. Let's build on that.
There's going to be movement.
And that came from the Democratic Labour Party, okay?
There is going to be movement, but it's not going to be free.
Mm.
I can tell you that now. It's not going to
Oh, yeah. Most
be.
definitely.
It is not going to be.
Well, I would say anyone that's interested in entrepreneurship, one book that I would recommend is Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki. Excellent read. How many of you have read it? No?
I did audio about
Very
four,
good.
probably more than 4 times when I think about it.
Mhm.
And I love the interesting contrast in how what you call the poor dad teaches his son to worry about life responsibilities, and the rich dad shows you how you can use tax write-offs and debt to leverage overall money, because debt is not taxable apparently. So, you know, the financial advisors will probably elaborate on that.
Another good book is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Correct. Yeah.
That's another one in the audio, but I don't really read so much. You know, listen to somebody having that conversation.
All right, so Ramon, there's a comment online from Nigel Newton again. Thank you, gentlemen. I wish all of you great success in your endeavors. I hope the team DLP lives up to the vision of the right, excellent Errol Walton Barrow. Please rescue Barbados from hell.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Certainly want to try.
So, Ramon, we come to you. What concrete wealth building policies would give young people real hope?
Oh boy. Insurance. Insurance is one for sure. If I knew about insurance, I would say when I just left school, I would have invested in a policy. And one of the policies that I would invested in is something called an endowment policy. It matures at the age of retirement. And Lord forbid, and you pass away before that retirement age, it is then passed on to the beneficiary. So you have generational wealth where that policy is concerned. I would have invested in one of those because the younger you are, the more reasonably priced it is. And it would help me in, and also it can help you with early retirement too. So you see that 67 and so forth. I've gone through it. And it starts with 67, but each year, I tell you, that retirement age is going to probably go to 70 by the time the next, I would say about 2, 3, 4 years. Right? So it's the way as well to you can retire early as well. And it passes on generation.
Outside of the insurance, what would you recommend?
Outside of your insurance, in terms of
Wealth building
wealth
policy.
building.
Yeah.
I think one of the things you can probably do as well too is to set up a fund, a family fund, and I believe that everyone would contribute to that particular fund, and then at the end of that particular period, then someone would benefit, a couple people will benefit from that. So that's something that you can do as well.
Yeah, that sounds like a trust fund.
Trust fund,
Yeah.
There's
Pedro?
also e-brokerage, which will deal now with wealth management. You can actually invest in Microsoft. So you can find an e-brokerage firm where you
Buying
can
shares.
and we can buy shares in within that and get the dividends on a monthly basis. You also, from a more minuscule perspective, when I first started work, one of my mentors was indicated, whatever you make, put on something. This is the basics now. So if you make $100, put on 20. All right. So people can start small as well too. Right?
It's the 70-30 rule.
Yes. So we need to do that as well too. Make sure you put down something for a rainy day. So it's the same concept of insurance for a rainy day or the what hits of life. So e-brokerage and making sure that you, whether it be whether you put it in a credit union, saving account or whatever the case be, you can put it into one of the accounts that you can't touch. Do those things, trick yourself. When I first started out, I did not get an ATM card for my credit union account. That way I was not going to be swiping and going in or whatever the case may be. One time I remember I had a credit card and my credit card was the balance within 2 months was more than my salary. And I was saying, well, this don't make sense. So I actually took the credit card back and do so and break it up, right? Because and I said, if I can't afford it, I don't want it. So you have to control yourself. You have to know your own self. So I don't want any credit card. That was that. But the point is that you have to control yourself. So if it's not getting an ATM card for the credit union, so you find one, you put your money that you're going to spend on a daily basis, a monthly basis on one account, and for savings, a separate account, we'll do that. But control yourself.
And the truth is, Melissa, these are the conversations that our young people in primary school should be having.
Yeah.
It should be separate.
Yeah,
You have to keep it for this one. This is too much.
Too much,
to say
okay.
in one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We should name a show wealth building.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you now, I think that we have a lot of risk-averse Barbadians, people who are not willing to invest. So, they want to hold the money tight. I was told there's about $1 billion in saving in banks. Saving.
14 billion in the bank.
Thank you very much. Right? And I think that, taking a little bit more risk in terms of investment, because sometimes you got that money saving and you know what's happening.
It's
Something that's happened.
Correct. It goes a good there.
You pinch here, then you pinch there, and then money gone. Nothing, you have not invested. That money has not made you money, and that's the end of your financial career, really and truly. So I think that we must get out of the risk averse a little bit. Another culture.
Very good. That's a very good one.
All right. So the final question for the night is how do we restore trust in the leadership at community level, country, wherever? How do we restore trust among the youth?
If you look at it, I think we mentioned it throughout the night. Restoring hope,
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, just had a discussion. You mentioned, you started to talk about gifts and talent. Bring it all home now. Here at the community level, and I've seen a number of pavilions being painted. It was not done by persons that were talented in the communities that can go and paint the same community centers or pavilions that they live around. So when I paint, if I am a person that lives in Haynesville and I go and I paint Melbourne, I can look around and feel good. And people around me can say, well, I paint that.
Right.
So we need as administration to really give those jobs to people within the communities. But only certain people benefit in this country. Only certain people benefit in this country. So restoring hope means bringing back community jobs, cutting grass around the same place. Should be at community level. Kiosks should be put in certain areas that persons that can be as a barber or what the case may be can go and cut here in their communities. They just need the opportunity. That is how we restore hope.
Well said. Ramon?
Restore hope by a change of government. This Barbados Democratic government,
Not for the people.
they're not for the people. They're not for the people. And the Democratic Labour Party
It's proven.
philosophy.
Proven.
Of course. That is why I have chosen this party. It is about the people, not about GDP and so forth. Other international countries looking on and saying, no, oh, their GDP is nice. When the Barbadian people, the normal fella, the have not type of fella, suffering in this country. So we need a change of government. One who cares about the people, and they are about longevity, not about loyalty. People being loyal to them. Give them a little handout, and you gotta be loyal to them. There needs to be a change of government, and that's how we can correct it. And that's how we can shift the paradigm. That is how.
Jamal?
Well, for me, it's a funny thing. I believe we need to start looking at things from a grassroots level. And if we are to be an administration, we need to sit down and take into consideration everything that our people, our citizens have to go through. Because we could sit here and talk about all different implementations that we could create, which would be a solution for some, but not for all. So I think we need to get out there as DLP, get into the homes, get into the communities, start to dissect what's going on, make a thorough analysis. Let's conduct needs assessments. Let's get people to really see that we care about them and not just come up on the show and talk pretty. Right? People need to know and feel that we actually care. That's why everyone take this on to big up the Honorable Ralph Thorne, who crossed the floor to come across and give us an opportunity at a strong chance at government. So what I'm saying is we need to get to the root, the root cause. Let me prevent this cavity. If we can't prevent this cavity, we need to find out how to save this tooth and not just do a filling, So for me, that's what I'm looking at. And I think once we do that, we could retain government and get the trust of the people back on the right track.
Yeah. What I would say is that the success and wealth of any nation should never be measured by the status of its leader. But the success and wealth of any nation should always be measured by the quality of life of its people.
Well said.
You understand? And if when we win the next election, when we win the next election, we will empower the people of Barbados, bringing back a new hope, new sense of purpose, and a new vision. And we all will live. We all will live. We all will live a good life of a quality life, right? Because the Democratic Labour Party is there for the people, and every person, every household throughout Barbados, the Democratic Labour Party will will hold your hand, right? And we will help you and assist you to become who you were created to be. Because we will help you to discover your giftings and your talents, right? And then we will help you to improve on that talent. And then when you improve on that talent, then we will help you to present it to the world. God bless you, Barbados.
All right, gentlemen, we've come to the end of our show. Viewers online, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. Mr. Andrew Cave, you said it all for me. So we're going to end the show here. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Good night.